I'm here at a former cattle property on Ella Bay with Stephen Garrett and Adrian Hogg, environmental and rainforest experts. So are weeds a problem for the rehabilitation, revegetation of this area?
Well, yes, weeds are always a problem. Some areas worse than others, but you've always got to keep on the weeds. They keep coming up behind your back, no matter how much control you think you've had of them. In our early stages, we've had to do a lot of weed control work. As we progress, we're going to rely less and less on herbicides to do the work for us and rely on good competition and shading out of it by the growing trees.
So Adrian, what sort of weeds are we likely to find in the Ella Bay area?
Well, Hayley, we've got quite a mixed bag here. We've got pond apple, sickle pod, snakeweed, we've got giant rat's tail grass, we've also got lantana and hymenacme and several others.
Well, what we've got here is sickle pod. Once that seed's in the ground, you're stuck with it for a good 15 years. It's just a downright nuisance. Now this weed looks like a grass, but it's not, it's a sedge. It's particularly problematic, and our strategies for it are quite limited. There really isn't a herbicide that can kill it. So our main option is to slash it and get the grasses around it to outcompete it again, put it back in its place. This is one of our class 2 weeds. It's a declared weed. Giant rat's tail grass, GRT if you're feeling a little lazy. This is a tussock. It's just ripening off, ready to spread.
One of the biggest problems we have in North Queensland, particularly on Ella Bay, is the pond apple, this guy here. He's a very woody weed and incredibly invasive. The majority of the trees in this area are actually pond apple, not native. One of the biggest problems with pond apple is how quickly they spread. And they start by these little seeds which tend to float in water during flood times. They're also dispersed by pigs, cassowaries and other fruit-eating animals. And the germination rate is very, very high. As you can see here by all these little seedlings which have come up, there would have to be several thousand of these guys that have popped up just in this square metre. So you can imagine how quickly they can colonise an area.
Steve, what methods do you use to control the weeds?
Well, it varies from weed to weed. Dealing with a tree isn't as easy as dealing with a tussock of grass or a little bush. So once it gets to the tree stage, which these ones have, we need to get holes drilled around the circumference of the trunk, and then we put this poison into it. It's a frog-friendly knockdown poison at a fairly high concentration.
So what about the other weeds throughout the area? What methods do you use for those?
Well, the weeds that are out in the old paddocks, we can go and spray those quite comfortably with commercial spray equipment. But when we get close to sensitive areas, like where there's water, such as this lagoon behind us, or where there's standing vegetation that we want to take care of, use the same herbicides, but with knapsack sprays and go in quietly and carefully. Once these weeds are under control and we've got this space ready for new trees, that's the exciting bit. We go and get the right trees for the right place, and we put them in at the right time.
So we're in a nursery today that specialises in that revegetation process. Can you explain a bit about how that works?
Certainly, Hayley. Fruit's the first step to revegetating any area because fruit contains the seed. That then goes into a tray, a bit like this one. We put a nice, well-drained seed mix in there. And that goes into a hothouse. And the hothouse, the idea of that is to provide heat and humidity to really try and bring those seeds on. Once they've started to germinate, you get a little shoot coming out of a seed. They then go out into what we call a shade house. In the shade house, the trees are given an opportunity to grow to a certain height before they're placed into tubes. And when we think it's ready, we take it outside and put it into the open sun, constantly being watered by sprinklers. When they're growing well in the sun, that's the time that they need to go out and be planted into the sites like Ella Bay.
Mind your heads, fellas.
The place we're in now is a little place where it's overcome with weeds. As you can see as we look around here, the area is quite bare, and that's because we've actually taken the weeds from this area, we've taken them back, we've cut them all out of here mechanically. Now we can come in and start to revegetate. So we bring in our little tubes like this one, dig holes in various areas so that we can make sure that the plants have enough room to grow. But most importantly, when they start to grow, they start to shade out weeds, which are very sun-loving plants. But in the meantime, we'll probably have to come in here and protect the trees, free them of wallabies, which like to eat the trees when they're young. And also, we will have to keep the weeds from overgrowing the trees. So it'll take some maintenance probably for the next 2 or 3 years before we get any good results.
Thanks so much, Steve and Adrian, for showing me how the rehabilitation and revegetation cycle actually works. It's been great.
Pleasure, Hayley. Yeah, no worries.
Until next time, guys.